First moment of delivery is when the back of the hand faces the sky, and then to bowl the leg break, the back of the hand faces your face. And then the ball is going to come out like that. So that's the reasoning behind it. Now, you'd be much better off, even though it's your natural style, just to start like that and run up and just stick the ball in any way you like. But you'll find after you've practiced hard every day, 8 hours a day for 4 years, bowling your leg break, that is a better way to start with your proper grip. Whatever grip you're going to use to let the ball go, try and make sure that the seam is actually pointing the way you want it to spin. Just have a go with that. Right, now instantly, all the way down there, you could see that the seam was in fact pointing towards slip. Yeah. That's the first time that's happened, because you were scrambling the seam. It was just going like that all the way down before. That is a very good start, I can tell you. First ball you've done it. And it's so important that you understand why it happens. I know it sounds simple, and the general tendency is to say, oh, yeah, what the hell does all that mean? But if you understand what is happening with your hand and how the ball comes out and why it's doing that, then you've taken a giant step forward. So start from where you know you're going to get it right, like that, so that you've got the seam in that position. That's where it is there, and you're going to let it go from there. Right, so back of your hand facing the sky first, and then you're going to turn it like, okay, that's right.
I'm a right-handed batsman. The ball pitches on off stump and moves away towards the slips.
Indeed it does, and sometimes if you really get it right, it will move a long way and move quite quickly. Depends on how much side spin and how much overspin you have. They're the two types of spin you can use. The side spin is just as I've shown there, and the overspin will allow you to get quite a bit more bounce if you're bowling on pitches, say in Australia, where the pitches are hard. The bowler will get more bounce and therefore it'll be more difficult.
Pivot, rhythm, bowling action.
Pivot, absolutely essential. Don't ever allow a coach not to stress the importance of pivot. It does get away from some players and some coaches. Pivot evolves from the delivery action itself. Might just start at the top of the delivery action, which I contend should be side on. I know there are some bowlers who make a success of it by being front on, but pivot comes into it there. If you bowl with your eyes looking over your front shoulder at the batsman down there, then you've got a real good start, because you are now in your delivery action going to pivot, and that is going to allow you to spin the ball quite sharply. If, on the other hand, you bowl looking on the other side of your arm and not over your front shoulder, you've got nowhere to go. You can't pivot, and you're just going to push the ball at the batsman like that. You can't spin it. I defy anyone front on to spin a leg break hard, because, as I say, there is nowhere for them to go. They're stuck there, and they can only push or roll the ball. And I've seen a lot of good leg spinners ruined simply because they were allowed to get too front on.
How to learn, that's what we want to know next. So we've seen how to hold it, how the action should be. How does a coach approach a young leg spinner? What does a young leg spinner do to practice?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's going to work for a coach ever to say, I think you should become a leg spinner. He needs to see the lad bowling, and the lad needs to be keen on leg spinning. Otherwise he'd be a medium pacer or an off spinner or a quick bowler. But it's necessary to see, first of all, that there is something there. Then you can bring into play the things we've already talked about and the other things we're going to talk about shortly. Keenness and a willingness to work, that's very, very important. You've got two young leg spinners around the world scene today. Shane Warne, for example, who has been an enormous success in the last 3 seasons. And Australians have a little bit of a tradition there. O'Reilly and Grimmett were the best combination Australia ever had. I played for 12 years from 1953 Well, 52 I made my debut, and 53 came over here. And then Shane Warne, as I say, in the last 3 years has been absolutely terrific. And he has come up through the ranks. He was at the academy. He wanted to be a leg spinner, but above all, he wants to work hard. And I said when he started out that it would take him 4 years to develop the hard, fiercely spun leg break, which is so important. Because I tell you, it's a war out there. You get out there and some batsman's getting stuck into you, it's no good just running up and rolling your arm over, because that guy at the other end is trying to ruin your career, and you've got to find some way to combat it. He's got nothing against you personally, but he just wants to belt hell out of you. And quite often he'll do it. And you have to be prepared to work hard, and the first thing you've got to do is get that fiercely spun leg break so you can land it exactly where you want to get you out of trouble at any time.
So how do you practice that? We read of handkerchiefs being put down on practice pitches. How did you learn, and how would you recommend a young boy learns?
I was a great advocate of the putting a white mark down. It can be a handkerchief or anything like that. You need to go up there and choose the spot where you wouldn't like the ball to be pitching, and then mark it. And that covers a batsman going down the track to drive as well as just playing defensively. So you'll choose that spot and mark it with, say, these days you can do it with one of those white shoe cleaner things you use. You can put the mark there, and then you'll just work hard at landing your leg break on that spot. And the way I did it was to go to the New South Wales Cricket Association practices on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and later on Tuesday and Thursday when I was out of the Colt side, and bowl in one net all afternoon. I'd get there first of all with Billy Watson. No one else would have arrived at 2:45, and I would start bowling to Billy Watson, who played for Australia, was a very fine batsman, and I would stay in that net. All batsmen would come in, but I wouldn't move. I'd have left-handers, tail-enders, and never ever refuse to bowl to tail-ender, because there's the opportunity to bowl at them in matches, and you need to know what sort of unorthodoxy they're going to produce. You don't get it down as far as you would for what you might term proper googly, which is starting your hand facing the sky, same grip and same position there, no different. It seems still going that way, but it's all in the positioning of the hand, what happens to the ball as it goes out. Leg spinner, because it's back of the hand facing the face, it's spinning that way. Overspinner, sky first, and then facing the batsman, and the ball goes down like that. And wrong 'un, exactly the same grip, seam pointing that way, back of the hand facing the sky, and then facing the ground, and the ball is pointing in that direction. So it all comes from it's impossible for you to bowl a wrong 'un with the back of your hand facing your face. Right. And it's also impossible for you to bowl a leg break if the back of your hand's there. It all depends on the positioning of your hand. Yeah, that's good. That's as far as you need to spin it. You only need subtle variation. You don't want outlandish variation, because a good batsman's going to pick it anyway. The problem is he's still got to play it. So small amount of spin like that, landing on the spot, and bowled at that pace, because you're fairly quick through the air, that I would say is decidedly useful. Always looked at the spot where I want the ball to land. And if you're ever in any doubt about that, just think about it for a moment. If someone put a post in the ground over there, and on it they put a can or something like that, and they gave you a cricket ball, and they said, we'll give you £10,000 if you can hit that can, where would you look? You're only going to look at the can. It's simple, it's logical, and it's the same if you're running up to bowl to try and stop the batsman scoring, and you want to land the ball in a certain spot, you must look at the spot. From the moment you turn to run in to bowl, you must be looking at the spot. No point in looking at the batsman's feet or his pads. Sometimes I've known young fellas to be mesmerised and to look at the batsman's face. But why would you look anywhere but the spot where you want the ball to land?
Right, take us on now to the other variations.
Well, the leg break